Only a month ago, Bank of England Governor Mervyn King said there was no obvious end in sight to the euro crisis. A month later, the Purchasing Managers Index for the euro area jumped to 52.1 points from 51.5 points in August, rounding off the best quarter in the eurozone for over 2 years. But at the same time, Cyprus unemployment reaches alarming levels. I'm joined on the line now by François Bourguignon, a professor with Paris School of Economics. François, in your opinion, are we being overly optimistic regarding recovery right now?
Yeah, it seems to me that we are a bit optimistic, talking about recovery. What I think we can say is that most probably in terms of economic activity, we are bottoming. And we are more or less, maybe not everywhere, but I would say on average, we are about to recover. Now, the actual recovery may take still more a bit of time. If you look at the case of France, for example, the second quarter, as in some other countries, was quite good. But the third quarter is probably not so good. And this is the same thing in several other countries. So I think it is too early to say that we are out of the woods, but certainly we are probably reaching the moment where we will be able to get out of the hole in which we are. But when you refer, for example, to the case of Cyprus, you also have to take into account that the Cyprus crisis is much more recent than the crisis in other European countries in the southern periphery. So it is not surprising to see that unemployment is increasing very much and rather quickly in Cyprus, in the same way as unemployment did increase in Greece. But again, today we observe that unemployment in Greece seems to be stabilizing. And we hope that this is a sign that very soon it will start going down.
Eurozone exports disappointingly fell by 1.6% month-on-month in July, which was the third decline in 4 months. Is this figure a cause for concern?
At the Eurozone level, I'm not completely sure. I mean, I don't know exactly the detail of that, but as far as I know, when you look at the whole Eurozone, there is no big issue in terms of the trade balance or in terms of the current account, which is more or less balanced. Now, it is true that within the Eurozone, you have countries with a surplus on their current account and countries with a deficit. But overall, there is a balance. So I'm not sure that I would be worried with this. And moreover, if this should become a problem, then the euro would depreciate, and this would allow the eurozone to recover in terms of the trade or external balance. So I don't think that this is really a big problem.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel got voted in for a third term. Do you think that this is good news for the eurozone, and are we facing 4 more years of austerity?
That's a good question. I believe this is overall a good news for the eurozone. What is the good news is that an election took place in Germany, and that from now on we will not be anymore in the situation where we were essentially waiting until that election because no decision could be taken in Germany and therefore in Europe as long as the result of the election were not known. So from that point of view, this is good news, but and I guess the good news is also the fact that because Angela Merkel has been elected, there will be no change, no disequilibrating kind of changes taking place in Germany. Now, I believe that now Angela Merkel and her government, and most likely a new government, since now this will most likely be a grand coalition between the CDU and the SPD, their view about what has to be done in the Eurozone will be slightly different. It was quite clear that Angela Merkel simply postponed several decisions until the election because she was afraid that by making some rather courageous decisions for the euro area would jeopardize the election. But now that the election is over, I think that this is not anymore a concern, and I would expect that Eurozone issues will get back to the forefront, and that decision will be taken. And moreover, I think that I didn't answer that part of the question. I think that Mervyn King was not really right. Maybe there is no obvious end to the euro crisis in sight, in the sense that there are still many issues to be solved. But we observe that there is much less tension on the euro. There has been much less tension on the euro over the last 10 months, or maybe a little less, 6 months or so. We observe that in many countries there seems to be a bottoming taking place in economic activity. This is true in Spain. This is true in Ireland. This is even maybe true in Greece. This is true probably in France. So this means that economic activity will start recovering slowly, but there is a big difference between going down by 1 or 1.5% a year in terms of GDP and going up even by 0.5%. I mean, the difference is absolutely enormous. And because of that, I believe that, yes, within such a context, it will be possible for Angela Merkel and her European partners to make decisions which were difficult to make before the election, and given the sense of decline of recession that we had a few months ago.
François, thank you for that, and thank you for joining me today. And that's all we have time for now, but do check back later for further updates and interviews. Bye for now.